Hey guys, it's Angela, Create Your Future. Happy Saturday, and thank you for being here. So in our video today, I am talking about getting rid of a third party, and I am going to share a story I have shared before in another video, but I'm sharing it again because this is probably one of the most popular topics dealing with a specific person and a third party issue. So I'm going to share it again because it's just a great example of an amazing success story. And I want you to know if one person can do it, then you can do it too. Okay. This success story actually is a friend of mine, and it happened many years ago. It was before I even really understood law of assumption. So as we approached this third party situation that my friend was involved in, our method or our mode of faith was centered around prayer. That's where I was at the time. But I want to say that prayer is your intention, right? Your prayer is your focus. It is where you are putting your awareness. And that is why there was success in this story, okay? Because we were putting attention and focus on the desired outcome. And I remember as I, was studying in my faith and trying to grow in my understanding of faith, I always heard people saying, pray the answer, not the problem, right? And that is what we are doing when we set an intention, right? Our intention is focused on the outcome that we want, not the problem, not the old story, but the new story, the thing that we prefer. And this whole scenario is just a perfect example of this. So a little backstory to this entire story. My friend, her entire marriage had really had a low self-concept, not feeling really worthy of her husband, not really feeling worthy of being in a committed, faithful marriage. And so the 3D reflected that back to her. About 7, 8 years into that marriage, her husband met another woman, had an affair, and it was a really trying time. So the first thing that my friend began to experience as she, faced the shock of this whole experience was some of those things that are very normal questions that any of us would ask, what is it about the other person that is so amazing? Is she prettier than me, smarter than me? Does she have a better education? Is she making more money? What is it, And so my friend began to process all of those questions and put so much attention, I will say a lot of attention in the beginning, on the third party. And that's a normal thing. If you find yourself in that same kind of situation and you're beginning to obsess on that third party, that situation in which you feel like there is someone or a person that's better than you, that's probably a very normal thing to think about and to obsess on. And as she did that, the 3D did reflect that back. So immediately, as she found out about that affair, her husband was talking about divorcing her and marrying the third party and moving on in a new life with that third party, because that's where her focus was going, right? And it's normal again. And the 3D just reflected back what she was feeling, thinking about internally. And I just want to tell you that these things that show up in our external reality, the experiences that we don't like, the things that we have deemed as bad, they are only there, right, to push us deeper within. It's like the calling card to push us to go in, because externally we feel helpless. We can't do anything outside of ourselves. And so it's the calling card. It's pushing us to go in, to discover who we are, to recreate our identity, to move out of that unworthy mode, that victim mode, that mode where we feel like we're helpless. And so part of that process is feeling the feelings, experiencing those things, allowing them to be, moving through them. And that was a journey that my friend had to go through. She had to feel those feelings and she had to allow them to be there. And it's not always pleasant, right? It's not always enjoyable, but you move through that process and allow things to be as you begin to wake up and discover who you truly are. So as my friend began to move through that and to feel those feelings. And there's all sorts of things that are within that, guys. You're normal if you feel angry, if you feel hurt, if you feel rejected, helpless, hopeless. All of that is part of this process. It's okay to feel those feelings. I work with clients a lot that feel like they've messed it up and they're doing everything wrong because they've had those feelings. That's part of the process, okay? Never beat yourself up for feeling your feelings. That's why you're here, in fact, is to feel the full range of emotions in being a human. But as my friend began to feel those feelings and move through those things, she finally came to a place of acceptance. And when I say acceptance, it means that you're not happy with the 3D. It doesn't mean that you're accepting this as your final outcome, but you just allow that to be. You allow that to be what is happening in the 3D in the moment. You accept that in the moment, and you begin to realize that this is your time to wake up and to internally change and shift. There's a verse in the Bible that says to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So you begin to accept that 3D as your school, your teaching time, realizing that you're transforming yourself. And she finally came to that time. And in that experience, as she began to just begin to focus on self and to look within, there was a lot of self-love, self-acceptance, so many emotions that came up around her. The focus began to be on her. She began to realize that she, in fact, was worthy of her husband, and a faithful husband, and a husband that was devoted to her, and a husband that prioritized her. She began to really dive deep into that experience of loving herself, and that is different for everyone. It looks different depending on, your background and your childhood and how you were raised and other factors. But she experienced that self-love, right? She began to really focus on her and let go of the concern, the worry, all of the obsession around the third party and her husband. So it didn't mean that she was not wanting her husband in her marriage, but she lost that obsession. Her obsession became about herself, about believing in herself, and also in growing her faith, feeling so called to begin to believe in herself at a deeper level and believe in the miraculous within her. And as she began to dive into that and focus on self and believe in herself, we began to hear through the grapevine about things involving her husband and that third party, that there was a lot of conflict and trouble in that relationship. And when she began to hear those things, her faith in herself and her marriage began to grow. Before long, she heard that her husband had moved out of the house that he had been living in with the third party. And those things increased her faith even more, right? So she felt more empowered to begin to look at a story that involved a new relationship with herself and her husband. So she moved from focusing on self, realizing her worth, into seeing a new relationship, a new version of her husband, a new possibility in that future with her husband. So she thought about her place in the marriage and what she wanted in marriage in a new way. And probably within a short time after her husband moving out of that living situation, she heard that they in fact had broken up. And then from there, very quickly, he came back very repentant, very sorry, and very much wanting to restore his marriage. And even kind of in that same mindset that she had, that their marriage could be brand new, better than ever, and believing that they had a very bright future together. And to this day, that is what they have. So guys, this whole success story involves dealing with those subconscious beliefs about who you think you are, and then allowing those experiences that seem so negative, so trying, so painful to push you within, to just allow it to be what it is, even though we don't like it, right? We don't accept it as a final outcome, but allowing it to be what it is in the moment, and know as you go within, as you do the work, as you begin to really embrace the situation, knowing that it's going to lead you to a better place, a better outcome, even better than it was before, right? You will get there if you maneuver through it, if you stick with it, if you persist and believe in yourself and really dive deep into your identity. Your identity is not in another person or your marriage or your job or anything like that. It is within you. It is who you believe yourself to be internally, and you are eternal. You are unlimited. You can have, do, be anything. That is who you are at the core, and that is who you are internally. So I hope that this really motivated you. If you were going through something in your marriage or a relationship, or even a relationship at work with your boss or a friend, if you're dealing with something in relationship to your body, it doesn't matter, because all manifesting is the same. And I hope you're really motivated to know that you truly can have, do, or be anything. Okay? So I hope that this really motivates you, encourages you to continue in your manifestation wherever you are in that journey. Guys, I do want to mention that I have an amazing course out called Awaken to I Am, and it's all about your identity and stepping into your power place, and recognizing that you are the I am of your own world, your own 3D experience. So if you want to check that out, look in the links below and you can purchase that course, Awaken to I Am. Also, if you want to work with me one-on-one, follow the links down below. I can help you manifest anything. If you're talking about health, relationship, career, finances, whatever it is that you want to work on, I would be glad to help you with your manifestation. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.